They watch more than they speak. They listen more than they reveal. In meetings and relationships in life, they're rarely the loudest voice in the room. But silence is not absence. They've already mapped out the ending while others are still reading the first page. They don't react. They predict. They don't chase. They position. And while the world sees control and certainty, what it doesn't see is that the one holding the blueprint doesn't really live inside the house they're building. Not fully. Someone told them, "I never truly knew you." They didn't raise their voice. They didn't defend themselves. They paused and said, "I thought being understood was enough. I didn't think I needed to be known." But under that calm, a silent thought flickered. Maybe if I had just left the door open once, they wouldn't have walked away. They turned back to their project, their vision, their system. Because vision is order. But people are chaos. This is the shadow side of the INTJ, the mastermind, the strategist, the inner architect. But today we're not talking about success. We're talking about the crack in the system. It begins with their dominant function, introverted intuition, NI. Now isn't just a feeling about the future, it's a tunnel, narrow, deep, and precise. It blocks out noise to focus on a single outcome, a pattern so sharp it feels inevitable. That's how they see connections others miss, how they anticipate roadblocks before they appear. But vision needs structure. That's where extroverted thinking, TE, comes in. TE is the operating system. It turns insight into systems, strategies, and results. TE doesn't ask, "Does this feel right?" It asks, "Does this work?" NI and TE together build the future like a city planner designs a metropolis, with logic, precision, and long-term control. But what happens when that system leaves emotion out? Beneath the surface, often sidelined and quiet, is the tertiary function, introverted feeling, FI. FI is an internal compass. It doesn't seek external harmony. It asks, "Is this right for me?" But for INTJs, FI is often left on standby, not out of malice, but because the system favors efficiency over vulnerability. And at the very bottom lies extroverted sensing, SE, the inferior function. The present moment, the body, the impulse, the risk. C is like a wide-open window in a glass tower, beautiful, but it shakes the foundations. When SE takes over, it doesn't whisper, it bursts. A sudden risk, an impulsive outburst, a night of sensory overload and silence the next morning. Because the present interrupts the plan, it's unpredictable, uncontrolled. When NI and TE start looping without balance, the INTJ enters a cognitive loop. Efficient but robotic, focused but rigid, strategic but emotionally blind. Emotions become bugs in the code. People become variables that refuse to behave logically. And when the system breaks, when the plan fails, they're not just frustrated. They're lost. Because they never designed an emotional blueprint for themselves. And when FI finally returns, it doesn't knock. It explodes. Repressed grief, silent shame, unspoken loneliness. Everything they pushed aside to stay on track comes back, all at once. They may isolate, or disappear, or shut down. Not because they want to hurt anyone, but because they don't know how to feel with them. They never learned how. They were too busy building the fortress. And now, they're trapped inside it, alone. So how does an INTJ break the cycle? Not by optimizing harder, not by perfecting the plan, but by doing the most counterintuitive thing, opening up. Letting FI speak, not as a weakness, but as a compass. Allowing SE to remind them that the present isn't just noise, it's also where life happens. Progress doesn't always require control. Power doesn't require isolation. Sometimes the most strategic move they can make is to let someone in. Have you ever felt like emotion was an error in your system? Like letting someone in meant losing control? Have you seen this side of the INTJ in someone you love? Or maybe in yourself? What happens when the fortress you built becomes your prison? Let's talk about it in the comments. Which part of the INTJ's shadow hit home for you? And don't miss the next episode of Dark Mirror, where we dive into the type that gives everything to everyone until they forget how to give to themselves. Any guesses? See you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.